Hey guys, this is Siettmann Sports, and with the MLB now in full swing, I want to talk about some of the rule changes they've made for the 2020 season. Now, some of these changes aren't supposed to be permanent, they're only supposed to be for 2020, but I wanted to look through each of them and really figure out, do I think the MLB should keep these rules, or do I think they should just scrap them altogether? Now, the first one is one that I think a lot of people have been asking to change for a long time, although it is a really two-sided debate, and that is the universal DH. I mean, forever, there was only a DH in the American League, and the National League had pitchers hit. And for this year, for the first time, the National League has a DH. Now, this isn't a permanent rule just yet, but I think in 2021, it's going to be a permanent rule for baseball. And really, whether you're for the DH or not, a lot of times really depends on whether you grew up rooting for an American League team or a National League team. And as someone who grew up rooting for a National League team, I was mostly against the DH my entire life. But over the last couple of years, I've actually grew a lot more fond of it. And I really think that now it's a change that MLB needs to make for the better. And really the big reason is that pitchers can't hit a lick. They can't hit at all. And they never have been able to hit that well, but right now they're hitting worse than ever. Back in 1978, pitchers averaged about a 143 batting average with a 188 on base percentage and a weighted runs created plus of about -1. In 2019, pitchers hit for a 115 average with a 144 on base percentage and a -25 weighted runs created plus. Now, what is weighted runs created plus? It's Fangraph's tool to determine the effectiveness of a hitter. For context sake, the average MLB hitter has 100 weighted runs created plus. That means that pitchers are hitting 125% worse than the average hitter in the league. And the really big problem stems from the fact that a lot of these guys in college, in the minor leagues, don't even hit anymore. And so when they get to the majors, you're asking a pitcher to swing a bat after he hasn't swung a bat in a real game for 3, 4, 5 years sometimes, and they just don't have time to perfect the skill. What having a good DH does is it gives 15 more jobs to good hitters in the National League, and really it just improves the quality of the game. I know people talk about the strategy of when to pinch hit for a pitcher and everything like that, but really I haven't even noticed watching the games in 2020 that kind of strategy is missing. I still think baseball is still really good, and the product of having another good hitter in there just makes it better. The second rule change they made is that in extra innings, they're starting the inning with a runner on second base. Now, this is something that they've used in the minor leagues for a while now and was finally implemented in the major leagues. I don't think a lot of people like this rule for the most part, and for me, I'm a little bit split on it, but I probably could live without it. Now, I understand that it is like hockey or soccer's shootout of the MLB, but to me, I'm just not a huge fan of it. While it does end games quicker and extra inning games don't seem to go as long, I don't really think that those extra inning games that go 16, 17 innings happen as often as people think. And I know we're always trying to avoid those. And I think in a 60-game season, it was really important to try to avoid those. But I think in general, I think baseball is a game that needs to be played the way it has been. And I don't mind making some minor changes here and there. But, the point of baseball is to get on base, to work at bats, and to reward the team with a runner on automatically. It just, it doesn't feel right to me. And if there's absolutely one thing I think about this rule is that could absolutely never be done in the playoffs, I think that wouldn't be right. And I don't believe it's going to be used in the playoffs in 2020, which is a really good decision by Major League Baseball. The third rule change they made, in fact, it was announced on the first day of the regular season, is the expanded playoffs, where the top 2 teams in each division get a slotted playoff spot, as well as the 2 next teams in the American League and the National League. So 8 teams in total make the playoffs in each league. This is from where they were at 5 teams making it, with 2 wildcard teams and 3 division winners in each league. While I don't actually mind it for this year at all, I'm not really a big fan of it moving forward, and I really hope that they don't have it. Unlike the NBA, where it feels like the 1-8 matchup or the 2-7 matchup always has the 2 or the 1 seed winning, I think in Major League Baseball, you're just more likely to have upsets from those 8 and 7 seed teams. Especially in the format that they're using, having 3-game series, it's just such a short sample size, and it could be really easy for one of these teams to upset one of the 1 or 2 seeds. And then what that really does is it devalues the regular season. Major League Baseball is all about the marathon, right? That's always what they say. But in this instance, if you have 8 teams making the playoffs, it really doesn't reward those teams who have succeeded all year long, have won their division, and had one of the best records in the entire league. In fact, almost universally, I'm against adding playoff teams because of that specific reason. Even for the NFL this year, I don't like going from 6 to 7 in each conference. So for Major League Baseball, if they made it permanently from 5 to 8, I think that jump would just be too huge. I think it's perfect where it's at right now. A rule that they implemented into the season was to have 7-inning doubleheaders. Now, the reason that they did this is because for teams like the Marlins and the Cardinals, who were to miss a big chunk of games, they would have to make it up. They didn't really have the schedule space to make all those games up on off days. And so they didn't want these teams who are playing a lot of doubleheaders exerting their pitchers in a way that would just be completely unhealthy and also not giving these teams a lot of rest. But just in general, I don't think this should be a permanent rule because really doubleheaders don't happen that much anymore. They're not scheduled, at least usually. And when they do happen, they're usually just for weather makeups and stuff like that in a normal season. And so while I understand the concept for this season, I really don't think they should have it moving forward. And if they're going to have a doubleheader, just play the full 9 innings of each game in a normal season. And lastly is the 3-batter minimum rule. This rule basically means that when a reliever comes in a game, they have to face at least 3 hitters unless they do end the inning. I've never actually really been a big fan of this rule. I don't think the pitcher who comes in for 1 or 2 batters happens that often. And I know they're trying to improve pace of play, but I really think it takes a little bit away from the strategy of the game. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I really also just don't think how much time does this actually save pace of play? A couple minutes in a normal game. Maybe in the playoffs it makes a little bit of a bigger difference when every at-bat is analyzed so much and there's so many big matchups and you'll go pitcher by pitcher. But for the most part, I'm not really a big fan of this, though I think this is going to be permanent moving forward. And while I don't like it that much, it really doesn't disrupt the game that much, and it isn't that big of a deal. I want you guys to let me know what you think of these rule changes in 2020 and which ones that you think should be permanent or not. I think we all have different opinions on this. I want to hear from you guys what you think about the subject. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Siettmann Sports. I'll catch you guys next time.